Now in today's video, we're going to be discussing my updated transfer targets ahead of Game Week 21. And of course, with the big announcement today, we are going to be discussing the assistant manager chips and going through all the prices and potential times to activate that chip. Now, before we dive into today's video, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we are trying to hit 12,500 subscribers by the end of the year, and it is only possible with your guys' amazing support. Also, I ran a poll on the channel the other day, and it seems like a large proportion of you are not subscribed to my second channel. I will leave a link in the description to that as well. Please feel free to go and check it out. We've got some amazing away days on there. There's plenty more coming up in this year as well. Big things planned for that channel as well. So of course, if you do enjoy my FPL content, I'm sure you're going to enjoy the second channel football content as well. Like I said, I will leave a link in the description to that one. Of course, with all these transfer targets videos, I like to first take a look at the 11ify data. Again, I'll leave a link to their amazing website down in the description. Of course, first we're going to start off with clean sheet percentages over the next few weeks. Arsenal are definitely leading the way. However, we have seen a little bit of a drop off in terms of their expected goals conceded numbers. So maybe it might not be worth having, two at the moment. I still think, with the way that the rankings are working, you're probably going to need to still get anything effectively out of that Arsenal defence in terms of their effective ownership. I think Liverpool are the more interesting proposition. Of course, Konate probably being the pick that I would be very, very happy to kind of maybe try and include in my team, especially if they get that double over the line in 24 or 25 as well. Some pretty decent games for clean sheet percentages going into that. Then, of course, with a double game week as well, what's not to love potentially targeting that Liverpool defence? Newcastle over the next 6 as well are looking pretty decent, so Lewis Hall definitely going to become a very, very popular asset going forward. I'm not 100% convinced on the Manchester United numbers as well there. Their XG conceded numbers as well have still been pretty disappointing, so I don't think it's going to be worth any sort of investment there. Crystal Palace though, Munoz, definitely going to be again another very popular pick with decent clean sheet percentages coming up. Of course, his attacking potential as well. Definitely a player I would be considering going forward as well. The Everton backline as well could also be worth a little bit of investment. Of course, new management, it is looking like David Moyes is going to be taking that position as well. A very astute defensive coach as well, so it's not like they're going to be going all out attack. Still going to be very, very good at the back as well. And like I said, with that double game week, if it does fall in 24 or 25, again, you are increasing your probabilities of a clean sheet. In terms of teams I probably would be looking to move away from, of course, Bournemouth have got some difficult fixtures coming up, so maybe the likes of Kirk, it might be time to shift him on. Chelsea, the next two look okay, but across the board and in general, in terms of their overall clean sheet numbers, it has been very, very disappointing, so maybe it could be time to switch away from Levi Colwill. And then the rest of the teams down the bottom, I don't think are worth any sort of investment this season from a defensive standpoint, unless, of course, you are, with just a 4 million bench defender. Anything outside of that, probably not going to be worth any sort of investment. Let's move on then to the attacking potential for these sides as well. Coming up, the projected goal numbers, should I say, for the next 6 game weeks as well. Of course, Liverpool looking very, very tasty indeed. And like I said, if that double game week does go into 24 or 25 as well, these numbers are only going to get better. So again, definitely worth some sort of investment for me in terms of Liverpool attack. Of course, though, it is trying to find that perfect asset. And I think maybe that asset might be Gakpo. But however, we're seeing rotation with Diaz, Gakpo, Jota, Darwin. There's so much rotation going off that I don't really know how to plan or how to prepare to get that second Liverpool attacker in. However, it could be very beneficial if you do get it right over the next few game weeks. Of course, match day 23, really good projected numbers there. 24 and 25 are pretty decent on their own. Never mind if you throw an Everton double game week game in there as well. So it could be very, very tasty as well. Newcastle's numbers are looking really, really good. So the likes of Anthony and Gordon, Alexander Isak, definitely worth some strong investment. City's are decent for the next 3, but after that they do start to tip away, and there are some more difficult fixtures on the card. So if you do have Haaland, probably worth keeping him for the next few game weeks. However, there definitely should be an option or a plan to maybe shift him out after that as well. United have got a pretty decent fixture this week and okayish numbers as well. So Bruno and Amad, we are going to be talking a little bit more about them as well in general a little bit further on. And again, looking towards some of the bottom teams as well, probably teams that I wouldn't really be looking to invest in terms of overall attackers. Now, I know Everton have got a double game week coming up in 24 or 25. However, from what we've seen of this squad, they really, really struggle to score goals, really struggle to create clear-cut opportunities as well. I imagine that is going to change a little bit under David Moyes. He's a little bit more attacking than Sean Dyche. However, I still think the players are probably letting that side down. And maybe somebody like Ndiaye at 5.4, probably going to be the most interesting pick out of the bunch if that double game week does get confirmed. Let's keep this video rolling then. Let's talk about the assistant manager chip. Of course, prices were revealed today. I'm filming this on the Friday. The video is going out on the Saturday. And I'm really, really big fan of what they've done with the pricing structure. I was expecting everybody to be at 1.5, 1 or 0.5. I really like this kind of, I would say, dynamic pricing structure they've gone for, because, you know, you've got some managers in there that definitely are justifying that 1.5 million price tag, and then some that aren't, and then you've obviously got some that are decent around the 1.1, and then the 0.8s, there's some interesting option. Obviously Almiron, definitely going to be worth a pick. Glasner as well, potentially could be one of those. Emery, Frank, I like them at 0.8, all could be worth a decent punt. And then the two that really, really spark my interest are of course going to be Graham Potter and of course the Everton blank, which as we probably know is going to maybe be David Moyes. It's looking highly likely that is going to be David Moyes. And I think, right, this chip goes active in 24. If you've already played your triple captain, you're probably going to want to look to play the assistant manager chip in 24. I feel the other chips are going to be more useful around the doubles and blanks coming up in 29 and 34 and 36 and stuff like that, and etc. Obviously, we'll have more detailed videos about chips and chip strategies when things start to become a little bit more aligned. Of course, we're still waiting for the FA Cup, Carabao Cup second round games as well, before we get a good idea of which teams are going to be blanking and which kind of processes we need to be playing at that point. So there's still a lot of moving parts in terms of that, but of course I will have a video coming out, so make sure you hit that subscribe button with bell notifications on so you will be notified when that video goes live. But the interesting options for me, like I said, right now at this point, if that double goes in 24 or 25, would probably be slot. Because, like I said, the Liverpool position's a little bit dicey in terms of the attackers. I think you could obviously invest in Konate. You're going to have Mohamed Salah. And then slot at 1.5, if you've got the money sitting around in your bank, could be a really good investment into. Of course, you're going to get some great fixtures, especially if it goes into 24. You would have the better side of the deal. 25, it does get a little bit more difficult because they follow that with City away in 26. So not ideal. Everton, though, I think could be like that 0.5 could be really, really beneficial and genuinely good. Of course, the Liverpool game would be one of their hardest ones. However, the other fixtures around that are very winnable games for Everton and very winnable games for a David Moyes side that I could definitely see coming out of that. Of course, Graham Potter also fits into that bracket as well. Maybe you've got the triple captain chip to play in the double game weeks. Further double game weeks down the line, Graham Potter at 0.5 as well could be a very, very interesting option. But let me know what you think of the new assistant manager prices. Let me know if you like them. Let me know your plans as well, or if you're a little bit clueless. I'm still trying to get myself wrapped up into this this new chip and kind of understand the best procedure. But I think there's so many variables that it could go in a million different directions, which is something that, you know, we need in this game. A little bit of variance, a little bit of swing that can definitely work in your favour or go against you. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Let's see what happens. Like I said, they're my plans currently right now. It probably is going to be slot or Moyes or whoever comes in for the Everton job in game week 24. But let me know your plans down in the comment section below. Let's move on then to some players. Of course, two of the most transferred in players this game week are of course going to be Bryan Mbeumo and Anthony Gordon, and for very, very good reason. Both of these players are in fine form, as you can see here, over the past 5 game weeks. Plenty of shots, plenty of goals, plenty of assists, plenty of good underlying data as well to go for both these players. Both players' minutes are very, very secure. I'd probably say Bryan edges it in that department because he never really comes off, does he? He's a 90-minute man. Also takes penalties as well. That's something that Anthony Gordon doesn't have, which is obviously the big kind of strength that you're going to go for Bryan Mbeumo. However, it is going to be the fixtures over the next 3. I think post 23, that is where Bryan Mbeumo does start to edge it. However, as we saw with the 11FI numbers, there are some really, really good fixtures coming up for Newcastle. Out of the next 3, they're playing 2 of the worst sides in the league for XG conceded. Great, that's a big tick in my plus. They've got 2 home fixtures as well, an even bigger plus as well, and they're not playing the top 6 sides. And they're really, really looking good, fluid, a great attack at the moment, great side as well, building a lot of momentum going into the last latter stages of this Premier League season. So lot of good for Newcastle at the moment. I would say though, of course, maybe monitor the Alexander Isak injury. It was confirmed by Eddie Howe today that he's missed a few training sessions this week, but isn't going to be available in the FA Cup game, but should be back midweek. But Eddie Howe does have a reputation for being a very notorious liar, so do just maybe err on the side of caution and maybe delay that transfer if you were going to go for Anthony Gordon, because I feel like when he plays up front as the number 9 and with Alexander Isak missing, that Newcastle attack isn't as fluid, and maybe it might be potentially worth just making the move for Bryan Mbeumo. Of course, the fixtures are difficult. However, City are currently sat 9th for XG conceded. They're not the same defence they were. Liverpool, a few cracks are starting to appear as well, so maybe with a home fixture being for Brentford and their strong home form this season, he could get at them, could look very decent as well. And like I said, he is a player that just plays 90 minutes, gets the penalties as well, and I think whichever player you do go for, you are going to be picking up a very, very good FPL asset. However, if I was to pick up one this game week, if Alexander Isak is fit and available, I do think for the next 3 game weeks, Anthony Gordon is going to be the better pick over Bryan Mbeumo. Let's move on then to the next set of players. Again, sticking with that midfield bracket, it is going to be Bruno Fernandes and Amad as well. Both very, very highly popular transferred in players, and for very, very good reasons. Again, we saw with the 11-5 data, increased projected goal numbers for Manchester United. Of course, looking at this week as well, they are one of the top teams on the betting markets projected goal numbers as well going forward. So a very, very good chance that United will score quite heavily this weekend as well. Brighton and Fulham as well, pretty iffy defences, I think, that you definitely could see Manchester United scoring it as well. Of course, the result against Liverpool hopefully lifts this side up a little bit and maybe gets them back on track as well. But I've had a few people asking me on Twitter, which one would I prefer to go for? Would I go for Bruno Fernandes or would I go for Amad? Now, I am a Bruno Fernandes owner, right? I've owned him, brought him in for the red card week. Then, of course, I missed the game and now I picked up the Liverpool points as well. And I'm actually thinking I might captain him, which is a little bit rogue. But, of course, we'll get to that in the team selection video that will come out on Sunday. But I am maybe thinking about it because the Southampton team are dreadful. One of the worst teams we've seen in Premier League history. They're really, really bad. The bookmakers as well are really fancying Manchester United. So I really like Bruno as an option. However, if I was to bring in either of these players now, I do think it does depend on my team structure. If I'm looking to keep a midfielder within that more expensive kind of price bracket, maybe I'm looking at bringing in Bryan Mbeumo in a couple of weeks, or maybe I fancy Anthony Gordon in a few weeks, and I want to keep that midfield kind of that 7 to 8-ish million price midfield slot open, then maybe Bruno Fernandes is going to be a man. However, if you may be looking to spread out the funds a little bit, put a little bit more into attack, or maybe bring somebody in like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, or find the money for Konate or a second Arsenal defender, then I think Amad is probably going to be a better option, because as you can see over the past 5 game weeks, their numbers aren't too different. But obviously, of course, the big appeal for Bruno Fernandes is going to be the penalties. It is going to be the free kicks. It's going to be the corners and everything that goes with him, as we know as well. I think we can see that with the key passes there as well. You can see that he's obviously getting more of that creativity. And, of course, from the set pieces and corners and stuff like that and penalties, it does have that extra swing. However, is it going to be enough to justify the big gap between the 2 price points? I personally don't think so. So I think if I was to pick right now between the 2, like I said, I probably would go Amad. However, if you want to go for Bruno Fernandes to keep your team structure in play, I still think he's a phenomenal asset to go and pick up. And I still think both of these guys are going to do exceptionally well over the next few weeks. Let me know in the comment section which way you are swinging on that one. Let's keep this party rolling. Let's keep on going with the 11-5 data as well. This is going to be the projected goal involvement data for players over the next 6 game weeks. As we can see, Mohamed Salah are pretty much going to be a must with those impressive numbers as well. Of course, if you factor in a double game week in there as well, if you've got that triple captainship active already, it's going to be a prime week to play it in 24, or maybe if it gets put into 25, could be even better for you as well, with really, really good projected goal involvement numbers there. We saw with the Newcastle data as well, really good numbers going forward, and we can see on this list as well, in terms of those projected goal involvement numbers, that Isak and Anthony Gordon are both on this list. And as I compared earlier, you know, you can't even see Bryan Mbeumo in this top 10. He's all the way down in 12th. So again, like I said, over the next few weeks, it is probably going to be more leaning towards Anthony Gordon. However, we do start to see that switch around game week 24, where Mbeumo's numbers do pick up a little bit more than Anthony Gordon's. Palmer, pretty self-explanatory. commentary. Same goes with Haaland, to be honest, as well. Diaz, like I said, it's either Diaz or Gakpo, isn't it, really? Whichever one gets that double game week could be a real big differential and a big gem for you guys as well. But it is, of course, the risk of minutes. The fact that Liverpool have got a lot of games and a lot of competitions this month as well is going to be extremely difficult. We're seeing Bruno Fernandes on this list as well. So, hey, what can I say? He's a pretty good pickup as well. We're not seeing, on the other hand, Ahmed involved in this list as well. In terms of some other players that I think could potentially be worth a look in over the next few weeks as well, Mateta and Eze, the Crystal Palace boys, definitely could be worth a little bit of investment with some decent fixtures. They're playing 4 of the worst teams for XG conceded, bar, of course, you know, Southampton and other dross like that over the next few weeks. So definitely worth some investment into that Palace attack. I probably would only say go for 1 though, rather than the double up as well, because they've not been clinical. And they're not a top side for me, in my personal opinion, as well. And then Mbeumo could also be a decent shout with injuries to Evan Nielsen and, of course, Unal. They have, of course, recalled Jebison. However, I feel like for the next few games, we maybe could monitor it and see Semenyo over the next few weeks be a potential option in that midfield bracket if he is starting as the number 9 and actually can convert some chances as well. Let's finish up today's video then and take a look at the predicted points from Fantasy Football Hub. Of course, Salah, Palmer, Isak. Again, it's all probably these 3 are going to be the 3 boys that you realistically need over the next few weeks. I think Haaland is a nice differential for the next 2, especially with the good projected goal involvement numbers, and maybe could be a decent alternative captain option as well. Cunha and Wood, 2 players we've not really spoke about too much, but again, both could be really good assets going forward. I think the fixtures, the next 3 for Wolves are pretty difficult. However, post that, around 24-25 is when we realistically, I reckon, will start to look to bring in Matheus Cunha back into our sides as well. I spoke about the Crystal Palace players. We can see 3 of these on this list as well. Saw, Eze and Mateta. And Mbeumo featuring on this list as well. So again, bodes very well for him. Anthony Gordon, again, another fantastic player. Vissa, again, very similar to with the Brentford fixtures and Mbeumo. It probably is going to be around that price point, that period, of game week 23 where we do maybe look to bring back Brentford assets. But his per 90 data is absolutely exceptional, so could potentially be worth a little bit of a punt there. That was my transfer targets ahead of game week 21. Let me know what you think of them down in the comment section below. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team, get them in as well, as I will try to answer as many as I possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 21.